Hello again and welcome to the Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard Tactics video. Now before we get into today's video, I'd like to say a big thank you to Alexander Stepukov. I can never pronounce your name correctly, Alexander. I'm sorry if I butcher it every time. For sending in some awesome pictures of your converted Kazakin into Scions. I know some people say, oh, Kazakin Scions, they think they're not. They're absolutely fantastic. You say that you prefer the current Kazakin models. I personally have to agree with that. The Kazakin models are better. Scion models still cool though, but absolutely awesome. Thanks for sending these pictures in. I know you've sent some pictures in before, but these are absolutely fantastic. So thank you very much, and of course thank you for your support on Patreon as well. Without you, this channel wouldn't be what it is today. So thank you to you and to all my Patreon supporters. Now, without further ado, let's crack on with today's video, which is an interesting one. I've been doing regiment reviews recently. We're getting a lot of positive feedback, so thank you everyone who's left feedback and who's interacted with the video. Absolutely fantastic. But a really interesting question came my way, which was from a newer player. He commented down and he said, I'm just starting out. I've got a few boxes. I've got a bit of, starting to put some things together. But I just can't decide which regiment to pick. Just can't decide. And I'm afraid of making the wrong choice. And committing to something and then being stuck with it. Okay. And this is a very important question. And it deserves a very, I've got to give this my best stab at a good answer to this thing. Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to give you a quote from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is, don't panic. Okay? Don't panic. Choosing a regiment, whilst important, isn't something you should be agonizing over. And in fact, really, why pick one regiment? Why not put yourself in a position where you can use whichever regiment you want to use? I myself am a bit stuck because I have lots of classic metal Mordian models, and so I feel some sort of obligation to use the Mordian regiment trait in every situation. Be damned, And I also absolutely love the Mordian regiment, and I don't really feel the need to change. But when I go to competitive events, I'm no one, unless I'm going to a Games Workshop event. There's nothing wrong with me using my Mordians as another regiment, as long as it's clear. But, one thing I could recommend is when you're building your models, there's a lot of options out there for third-party bits. Or there's a lot, especially with guards, a lot of options out there for conversions and kit bashing. So just because you start off with with a squad of Cadians, that doesn't mean you have to use the Cadian regiment trait. You could go to someone like Anvil Industries. I'm not sponsored by them in any way. It's just everyone knows if you want guard bits, go to Anvil Industries. So they do an absolutely huge variety of head swaps and weapon swaps and arm swaps. And you can buy whole miniatures from them. But a simple head swap is what I'm trying to say. A simple head swap makes a huge difference to Cadian models. It's a huge difference. And if you just do a simple conversion, maybe you put some Scion heads on some of your Cadians. Maybe you, some of the beret ones, some of the helmet ones. Maybe you get some third-party bits from Anvil Industries and you stick those heads on. So that, as long as you make your regiment, just make that minimum effort of doing a head swap. And you make a unique-looking regiment, a custom regiment. And when you've got that unique look, you can use whatever regiment you want. You can use whatever you want. And in the Codex itself, it is well established in Imperial Guard lore across multiple codexes that the equipment that the Cadian shock troopers use is widely replicated across the Imperium, because there's a lot of regiments because the Cadians have got such a sterling reputation. A lot of regiments like to copy them or to take inspiration from them a little bit, not too much. Or a lot of regiments insist upon having the best. If the Cadians' equipment is the best, then they insist on having the best. And so a lot of regiments which are not Cadian in any way, shape, or form look very similar to them. So even then, if you don't want to do any conversions, if you come up with your own justification, your own background, then you can pick whichever regiment you want, and you shouldn't pigeonhole yourself into one. You can if you've got how it works. How it works is I didn't wake up one day when I started collecting Guard and go, I'm going to be Mordians through and through. That my love for the Mordians was something that was developed over time. So my recommendation to you, people out there who are agonising over to pick a regiment, is don't. Try them all out. Read up on all of them. Just the bare minimum. Go on something like 1D4chan. Yeah, they're full of memes and it's a bit jokey, but it's a dummies first lore area. Dummies first, fluff for dummies on regiments, and just go and read it. And if you like the sound of it, then semi-commit to one regiment. That's what happened with me. I played for 5 to 10 years just as the Imperial Guard. There was no regiment choices, not really. And it was only relatively recently in my Warhammer career that I settled on I love Mordians. I heart Mordians. I appreciate the other regiments. I love all the regiments, but Mordians are, the fluff, the style, everything. That's what does it for me. But it wasn't a decision that was made overnight. So, if you're just starting out, okay, just to bring things down to reality a little bit, which is all well and good me going and saying go and buy loads of third-party bits. If you can afford to do that, fantastic. If you can afford to mix and match kits that way, fantastic. However, if you if one is on a if you are on a shoestring budget, I know I was for a huge amount of time for my guard career, especially as I started as a teenager working my way up. The simplest way you can make a custom-looking regiment is to mix Catachan and Cadian kits together. That's the simplest way. Now, you're going to have to get good with a hobby knife, but if you don't have money, then the one commodity you should be willing to spend is time. Time, to convert. So and that's what lots of people do who don't want to go out and spend hundreds and hundreds of pounds /dollars /euros insert your currency here. That you just do a simple bashing kits together from Games Workshop. The other advantage to this is I know a lot of people only play in Games Workshops, and if you've got a strict store manager, he won't let you use non-Games Workshop bits on your models. He just won't let you do it. He won't let you use those. Well, you can do it, but he won't let you use the models in his store. Some Games Workshop managers are lovely. Mine doesn't give a shit. I have also encountered those. I've mentioned this guy before, Dickhead Dave, Games Workshop manager, who would not let anything non-GW through his storefront. Nothing at all. I'm not saying that's one of the reasons he was a dickhead, but you do come across Games Workshop managers who are a bit And of course, you also have, if you want to go to some of the Games Workshop grand tournaments, which they're running a lot of these days, you can only use Games Workshop models there. Now, obviously, by kit bashing something like Catachans and Canes together, what you get is a very unique looking regiment with a very unique looking regiment with purely Games Workshop bits. And that's fine. You can kit bash, and the good thing about it is you buy 2 boxes of 10 guys. And you still, by merging all the bits together, you will still get to build 20 guys. I mean, the Catachan box set has got so many spare arms and shit in it, guys. And I know some people are like, well, so you could have Cadian body armor sections, and some of them will have like Cade, with the shoulder pads and everything. Some of them will have that, and then all you do is do a bit of a Catachan head swap. Some you can have Cadian bodies with the big, muscly, bare Catachan arms with helmets on. I've seen that done. It looks fine. The kits do look a bit. They are. I'm not gonna lie. The kits are a little different, and you are gonna have to get good with the hobby knife. And some of the parts don't, look a bit disproportionate. Like the massive Catachan arms, for example. But models in units always look better than models individually. And as a guard, you will have a lot of units. So if you're running 100 infantry and you've kit bashed them all to be Cadian and Catachan together, then no one's going to know if a couple of arms are disproportionate. No one's going to fucking know. So there you go, guys. So I know it sounds weird, like I haven't really answered the question of which regiment should you pick. But before you even think about that, you should be trying them all out. And if you're concerned from a modelling perspective on being pigeonholed into one regiment, then you should build your models in a way that allow you complete freedom. Mash kits together, mash fucking Age of Sigmar kits together. You know, Free Peoples and Catachans and Cadians and how many? There's Space Marine Scouts, Scions. You know, there's so many options out there. Death Corps Krieg, Armageddon Steel Legion. You've got so many kits you can throw together. There's no, although admittedly, Death Corps Krieg are resin and Armageddon Steel Legion are metal one-piece models, so they're not good examples. But the other ones absolutely are. So that's the first step. The second step is to play. Find a regiment that suits your play style. Do you like to gunline, which is I know a lot of people don't, but it's a perfectly valid tactic. Do you like to sit there, form a firing line, and through disciplined volleys and targeted strikes, take apart your opponent and play in a semi-modern military way? Pick Cadian. Do you want to have guard, which are particularly good in close combat and have great fire support? And pick Catachan. Do you want a regiment that's extremely mobile but doesn't have the greatest damage output? It's just got normal damage output. Go to LAN. You guys will be moving all over the place, but you've got no real direct damage buffs. Do you want men that just won't... Do you want tanks that just won't degrade until they're on their last legs? With infantry that take very little battle shock damage and will stoically march forward into the guns of your enemies? Then think about Valhallans. Do you want all your men to be marksmen, to have good long range, DMR? Then look at Destroying. Do you want an army which forms up in bristling, bright, perfect ranks with the best uniforms? Then go for Mordian. Which, if your regular opponents are always taking assault units, then take Mordian, because no one likes assaulting a Mordian line of infantry. 5+ Overwatch is murder to assault armies. There's loads of options. There's loads. I've definitely Armageddon Steel Legion. Do you want guys that have an absolute killing field at 18 inches, and whose tanks are resistant to nearly all small arms fire? Go Armageddon Steel Legion. I think I've covered them all. Apologies if I've missed one out. Looking at Forge World, do you want men that will not take any morale to shooting whatsoever? Death Corps Krieg. Do you want guys where you can deep strike your entire army? Elysian Drop Troops. Do you want the best human soldiers available, bar Space Marines? Go for Scions. Go for the Militarum Tempestus, the Stormtroopers. We're not talking Star Wars Stormtroopers. We're talking World War II Stormtrooper Doctrine Stormtroopers. Rapid Reaction SF. That's the Stormtroopers. An army which will, if can execute its plan perfectly, will be almost unstoppable, but if a single thing goes wrong, will fall apart like a house of cards. Stormtroopers. Think about that. Before you even think about what kind of regiment you want, you need to be thinking about, you don't want to be worrying about that shit. You want to be thinking, what style of army do you want? Do you want mostly tanks? Do you want mostly infantry? Do you want a hybrid list? There's certain regiments will appeal to certain styles of army, but typically They all, you know, every regiment can make use of, you know, if you go heavy armour or if you go heavy infantry. So there you go, guys. I know I haven't told you which regiment to go for, but what I've done is I've tried to give you some advice to assuage your fears and to stop you running around in circles trying to pick a regiment. Just build your models nice and custom style. You make a nice custom regiment for yourself. Come up with your own fluff. Choose your guys. And then just play test with lots of different regiments until you find one that you like. Simple as that. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Hope it has helped some of the newer players out there. And of course, I'll see you guys next time.